and welcome to the Digitize Fully Charged Podcast. My name is Niall Ridgway and I'm joined as always by Pam Curry. Today we have an incredible chat with the fantastic Kirsteen Steven. If you've never come across Kirsteen's work before, she is doing some fantastic things around accessible ed tech and making sure that our learners are getting the most out of their devices. We've been big fans of Kirsteen's work for a number of years, and honestly it's a pleasure to have her on joining us for the Digitize Fully Charged Podcast. So without giving too many spoilers away, let's jump in. Welcome, Kirsteen.
So I'm really excited today to be joined by Kirsteen Steven from Call Scotland. So Kirsteen, I think without any further ado, could you just introduce yourself to the audience? That'd be great.
Hi guys, I'm Kirsteen Steven, and my job title now, although I still call myself a teacher, it is an assistive technology and additional support needs teacher.
Okay, and what does that mean in the day-to-day for you then at Call Scotland?
Well, I still see myself as a teacher, an educator. I've been doing that for 20 years in the classroom. So, but now I have the privilege of going out and about around Scotland, into classrooms, and we have at Call, we have service level agreements with 20 local authorities across Scotland. So we have learners that are referred to us.
Okay.
And I was talking to somebody yesterday actually, and I said that for me, the most important questions that I ask before I go out to see a learner is, what do they like? What are they interested in? And what do they not like? So that I can tap into those interests, like kind of get my hook straight away, because now I don't have the same relationship with learners that I go out to see. You know, they're not in my class. I'm going out. I'm just a person that arrives one day, has a bag of kit. Sometimes it's quite exciting, and then I just leave again. So, so part of my job now is going out to see learners. I'll also have responsibility at Call for our professional learning programme. So that's a big part of my remit. Ensuring that we have our professional learning programme. So,
I would love to dive into kind of all the things that you're offering at Call and professional learning platform and everything that you're building. Before we do that, I've got a quick question for you. So years ago, a lot of the favourite kind of things that our young people had were Thomas the Tank Engine, Pokemon, football were kind of favourite areas that the young people enjoyed. Are you seeing a shift in the cartoons that our young people are watching? Are you seeing a shift in what they're interested in? Is it Bluey now, or is it still football? Kind of what are young people interested in these days?
Do you know, there's a real variance, Niall. I would say like there's still some of the old favourites, because a lot of the repetitive nature of some of these things, like Thomas the Tank Engine, you know, like that's always been a favourite for a lot of the learners that I've worked with. A lot of the learners I've worked with over the years are on the autistic spectrum, and so like the colours, the categories, you know, the naming, is, you know, they're just appealing. But Minecraft, I massively got into Minecraft education over lockdown, but I've got two children myself. And over the time I've been teaching, I suppose that's really helped me, because I had resources at home as well as you know, that I could tap into. But now it's a bit more difficult. If I ask what somebody's into and they say like Bluey, I'm like, what's that? Because my kids aren't, you know, that's not what they're into anymore. So Minecraft is probably one of the most consistent. Because it appeals across the ages and stages.
Across the board. And it's had a film out recently as well.
So McDonald's are doing free toys.
Oh, well, there you go. That's always a bonus.
You know, Bluey, I know Bluey in Spanish because I was doing Spanish on Duolingo, and I'd read that if you watch children's programs in the other language, it's easier to pick up that as a kind of second language type thing. So I've only ever watched Bluey in Spanish to try and pick up what mum is and what dad is, and so
that immersive experience.
Exactly.
Like, you know, it's always amazed me that when I've had learners arrive in my classroom with no language and,
Sure.
the sorts of things that they pick up and how they pick things up quickly, and actually using technology is always, well, like Minecraft, it's that level playing field.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just when you're saying there about learning the language, I started my teaching career in Pilton in Edinburgh.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
for anyone listening that doesn't know it, it's an area of high deprivation.
Yeah.
I did my probation down there in a joint campus, and I had the best time ever. Coached the girls' football team for a few years. So,
I did
yeah,
that as
loved
well.
it.
That's what I did exactly the same. I
Loved
loved it.
One day I had this little boy, and he arrived in Scotland, and mum spoke no English at all. He was in our nursery,
Sure.
and by the time I was working with him, he was in primary 1, and he only ever spoke Mandarin.
Right.
And he came in one day crying from the playground. He was holding his head, crying away, and I said, "Oh, what's the matter? What's the matter?" And he said, and I thought, actually, I'm asking him, and I can see, like, he's showing me. But I was, what's the matter? Or what's wrong? Modeling language, I suppose, when I think about it now, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was modeling the language. And he said, "I bang my head."
Oh.
And these were the first words he'd ever spoken in English, or
That's
that I'd heard him
hilarious.
say. And I was like, because this is what he was hearing in the playground. So,
Yeah,
like, if
absolutely.
that's what you're listening to in a program or using technology to help you learn a language, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Banged my head.
Yeah, you can learn it in the playground, or you can learn it on Duolingo.
Yeah.
That brings us into a bit of work that Call Scotland do, which is around Scottish voices. Can you tell us a wee bit about that
Yeah.
work?
We have, I think at the last count, I think we're at 8 websites, maybe 9 now. But
Okay.
anyway, one of our websites is the Scottish Voice.
Yeah.
So I've only been at Call since August 2023. But there's been a lot of work going on since 1983. And Scottish Voices, being able to have those free and available to download onto devices is just absolutely fabulous. I actually had a conversation with somebody today, and we were talking about, how that came about. And it came about from a need being identified, as most of the things that we do. That's how they come about. We see a need and try and plug that gap.
Yeah.
And we had lots of learners who, yourself, listening to a system voice, it's just, it's not the same.
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't say heed.
No, you're right. You're right. And being able to offer these in conjunction with the funding from the Scottish Government and Sarah Proc put these voices together, and it has grown over time. So, from not just an adult voice, but now we've got, child voice and a Gaelic voice.
Amazing, eh?
Brilliant.
Yeah, really good.
And that, so they were there, and then the questions kept coming about, well, because devices have changed. So we've got the voices, but, how can we get them on all different devices? And the biggest problem has been iPads.
Okay.
But we're there now.
There's a breakthrough.
Through having a Seraplay app, we can get them now on iPads. So it makes such a difference for a lot of learners. Some learners prefer an American voice or are happy with system voice, but to have that option of having your own dialect and your own language. So it's a really great offering, and free.
Aye,
free
totally
to download.
Brilliant. Yeah.
That's the key word.
Where would people find these voices? Is it through the Call Scotland website, or
Yes.
what would they be searching for?
Yes, so if they searched for the Scottish Voice, it should come up.
Brilliant.
She says, hopefully.
And you can just, it does. It's definitely clearly linked on your website. But you just download the voice, and then there's a way of getting it on and being the default voice on your device.
Yes,
Brilliant.
Just going in and setting it as the chosen voice, and then. I mean, there are some apps and some programs that you can't use, that you are stuck with the system voice.
Sure.
Okay.
I'd love to have a conversation with a a man in Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who very often wears a purple cape.
Yeah. That very one.
Uncle Mike. I would love to have a
Yes.
conversation with him. I tried to find him at Bet, but he was just
Too busy.
Everybody will be looking for Mike.
Everybody was looking for him.
Yes.
So
Getting a wee selfie, Mr.
that
Thompson.
was the number one thing, actually, was the Scottish voice, to say, how can we get that on?
I imagine it would be coming. I mean, it's interesting though that you say, because we had this debate when we were doing our kind of content. We were like, are young people they're probably going to be okay with American voices?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we kind of debated, like, should we go, like, what kind of accent, if we're using like an AI generated voice or a system voice, what kind of accent should we go with? And a lot of young people, I suppose, are quite used to American accents, but just having that Scottish voice makes just makes you feel like
difference.
More included, I suppose, somehow.
Yeah. And I think I was actually out with a colleague in a school with a learner who was called Callum. And he had his AAC device.
Mm-hmm.
And just at that point on the app that he was going to be using, we were saying, you can get this Callum voice. So for him, it not just only let him have a Scottish voice,
but it was called Callum.
He felt like there was a real ownership there, that he felt it was Callum's voice.
Good connection.
So
that's
it was
amazing.
That's lovely.
Powerful stuff.
You mentioned at you started your career, you started in Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. What was the lead up to that? Were you at university before then? Were you traveling around prior to that? Where did you start off your career?
So, I'm originally from Inverness.
Right. I thought I detected a little bit of a Highland twang.
Yeah, Highland twang. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm ever up there and then I'm speaking to anybody afterwards, they're always like, "Oh, you're so Invernessian."
You start picking up again.
Back into it.
So born and bred in Inverness, and then I went to University in Aberdeen.
Right.
I did an undergraduate degree there, law and management. As part of my degree, I had a work program, a 6-month work program, and I worked for an oil company.
Okay.
And I thought that's all right.
Yeah.
It was okay. Got offered a job out in Texas.
Whoa,
Texas. Yeah. I know my life could have had a really very different direction.
Yeah.
But the timing just wasn't right for me, and I didn't really fancy it. It came to almost, I suppose the job offer didn't come straight away, but initially we were coming up to the end of our degree and everybody was applying for jobs and things. And I thought, I actually have no idea what I want to do. I've fallen into this. I wanted to join the police when I started the degree. And over the time I went off that completely. So I had no idea where I was going to go or what I was going to do. But I was pretty sure that this wasn't going to be me. Anyway, I then applied for one graduate program, and the job was down in the south of England, and I was offered that job and then went, oh no, that's definitely not what I want to do. So I was very brave and didn't just say, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I said, no, thank you. Yeah. And at that point, though, my parents were going, my God, what is she doing? We're going to have to fund her even longer.
Yeah.
I went away and I travelled over the summer, and I went across Canada and the east coast of America. And then I came back home and went, I can't live at home. I need to get out of here. Applied for a job that I saw in the newspaper that was in Edinburgh. Had friends down there. Moved to Edinburgh to work in a legal office. And I became a paralegal. So I kind of fell into it, although I had done my degree in it. Did that for 5 years.
Okay.
I worked for a couple of firms and became a qualified conveyancer in that time. I was able to do everything that a solicitor could do, buying and selling houses. The property market went mad and I went, nah, this is not for me.
Sure.
And then I went, do you know what? I had a friend at university who was doing primary teaching and that just sounded amazing. Everything sounded exciting. And I thought, I really like, I like kids. That's when I go to family parties, I'm always the one that's looking after the younger ones and all that sort of thing. And I thought, I'm going to look into this and see what it would involve. It was a 1-year postgrad and I knew it was really hard to get into. And I thought, I had lots of family who were teachers, so I took a couple of days off, never told anybody. I went and stayed with one of them, and I went into school with her.
Wow.
And I loved it, and I thought,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I want to do.
This is for me.
So I applied and got an interview, went along, and thought I did terribly, because in the group discussion, I felt I was the one that was quite controversial, and I left it going, oh no, I should have just agreed with everything that everybody else said. And long story short, I got in.
You got in?
Yeah,
And was
great.
it Murray House? Was it Murray House?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. Handed in my notice, and my boss said, if I give you more money, will you stay? And I said, no, thank you. But I said, if I don't like it, I'll be back looking for my job. Is that okay? Can I have it back? And he said, yes.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
I went away, did my year. I went back for the summer on the understanding that it was just for the summer because I needed the money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never looked back. And
No.
nearly 20, almost 20 years to the day of me leaving, I went back to Murray House. So that's where my office is
That's
now.
a nice full circle then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
That's amazing.
So then, where did you teach across your teaching career? Were you mostly based in Edinburgh or?
Started in Edinburgh, and I was there for 5 years. And then I moved out to West Lothian, where I live now. Yeah. I moved out here, and I was still commuting into Edinburgh initially, and then I got a job out here. I worked in two schools out here, one of which I was in for 13 years. I was class teacher. I went back part-time after I had my children. I did everything from job sharing, Macron cover, support for learning. I was job sharing class teacher in a specialist provision. And then the year of, what year? 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just think. Yeah, session 2020 to 2021. I was really lucky. I got a cluster digital role. And so, well, they were very excited, because then when we went back into the second, they locked down home learning.
Yep.
The schools, the cluster that I was working in had somebody on tap that was the go-to of help.
Yep.
That was a crazy time if you were in the digital technology world, in ed tech. It was it was a lot of Teams calls.
Lot of Teams calls, yes. Yeah. Online, a lot of online. And it's great because the schools that I was working in and supporting at the time, we actually, I think, we were a bit of a step ahead because of work I'd been doing over the years in the cluster. I'd been support for learning just before that, and I had been going to Call Scotland's technology conference.
Sure. Yeah.
We actually kind of did things a little bit, I suppose, backwards now, because now we talk about using Teams and using OneNote, but we actually started using OneNote before we were using Teams.
So using that as the collaborative jotter.
Yeah, so we were using the digital jotter, and then it was about, right, now we need a way of everybody working together. So it was more about using OneNote individually, not from a collaborative perspective, but from, we need kids to be able to use digital jotters as an alternative to a pencil and paper, because we know that's not for everyone.
Sure.
So we were kind of ahead of the game there, I suppose, a little bit.
You mentioned the Call Scotland conference. Does that still happen? Are you doing that again this year?
So really excited that we are bringing this back this year, face-to-face. Yay!
Wow.
Brilliant. Nice.
So we are going to be face-to-face. We're going to be live streaming and recording. So people that can't come and join us and meet the exhibitors, they can still join us online for as little or as much of the day as they're able to make. And then we've also got recordings that can be purchased as well. So the face-to-face thing is, it's just fabulous, and have that experience of seeing and talking to people.
Yeah.
Makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Do you know where it's going to be yet, or have you got details?
Yep, so it's going to be at Murray House. in Edinburgh on the 11th of June,
Okay.
which is a Wednesday. And the other thing is that we've actually got a keynote speaker this year for the very first time. So I'm responsible for organising it with a couple of colleagues, but it's mainly my baby.
Sure.
And so this is a bit of, we're just gonna go for it and see how we go. So yeah, if anyone's listening to this or watching that is able to come and has an interest in accessibility, assistive technology, communication technology, this is high quality and it's a bargain. It's £10 for a whole day.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know. So we've got a keynote speaker coming from Canada.
Right. Very good.
Ooh.
Joining us from Canada. We've got lots of suppliers joining us as well. And the workshops, the program is on our website. So people can have a look at the program, and then we're going to be sharing what other exhibitors are going to be joining us. And yeah, it is shaping up to be a really good day.
That sounds great. What a fun project to get involved in organising that.
I know,
that sounds exciting.
And to just have a bit of autonomy and be able to kind of get what I want.
That must be amazing.
Yeah.
People are really, like, suppliers really keen to come because they want to, they want people to know about their products and have a shot of, it's that hands-on experience. It's not the same as just sitting listening or watching somebody demo it, because we do, we have weekly webinars as well. So that's one of our other professional learning offerings, and they're free. So, because, we recognise that one of the barriers to people attending professional learning is cost.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
there's no getting away from that, which is, it's unfortunate. School budgets are cut. There's, teachers have spent years paying for things themselves. I've done it. I've gone out and bought the baking ingredients. I've brought in the Play-Doh because there's none left. I've done all that, or made it myself.
Yes.
I've done all that.
Niall knows all about that.
I've got a good couple of recipes if anyone wants some.
Nice. So yeah, £10 is a bargain, I think.
That is a
for
bargain.
full day.
11th of June, full day, Murray House in Edinburgh, but you can also attend online. Is that what you're saying?
You can attend online, and there will be recordings. So we're doing 3 pathways, which we've decided on this year. Well, we kind of decided last year, but it was a bit late, and we almost sort of shoehorned presentations in. But this year we've got 3 clear pathways of a communication pathway, dyslexia and dyscalculia pathway, and a complex needs pathway. So presentations that kind of fit in with these headings. So,
see, in terms of the assistive technologies that you're involved with, what are you seeing in development, from the tech point of view? Is AI playing a role? Is there big developments underway? What's going on in terms of those technologies?
I know AI is the biggie. It is the biggie. And there's lots of software being developed. Like Microsoft have got AI as part of their editor, Microsoft Editor, and Book Creator have got their auto draw and AI generated images and things like that. And I think, like, it's scary. It is a bit scary. It's scary at the rate that things have moved at.
Yes.
And people knowing or worried about what it can do. Like, I've got a son who's about to start his exams, and I want to make sure that he's not cheating as well. I want to know that everything he's showing me is his own work and that he's not using AI. And, and likewise, like my daughter, she's just started secondary school. She finds school more difficult than he does. And, over the years, I've shown her lots of assistive tools. And that she feel like she's born in the right age because she's got a mobile device.
Yeah.
She can dictate if she needs to.
Sure.
She can have the text to speech and have things read out, because sometimes for her tracking is, it's a bit of a challenge.
Right.
I'm trying to embrace it. And I think, like, we are trying to embrace it as educators.
Yeah.
But there's still a worry, and rightly so. There are controls in place.
Yeah.
And schools are are worried and concerned, and that's why some of the tools aren't available to learners at school. But I mean, I personally I use Copilot a lot.
A lot,
yeah, absolutely.
In my daily work, I'm like, this is how I would say it. What do you think? Or can you, summarize that? Or, I was using a trialing out note-taking software.
Okay.
And we've got a webinar coming up of somebody that's going to, demo that. And we used it in a meeting to help us take the notes. And it's just,
it's incredible, isn't it?
It is absolutely mind-blowing, but brilliant.
And did you get like the data from the meeting? Like, so I remember like we've been using an AI for a long time. Well, for a while now, haven't we now?
A couple of years now.
Fireflies, it's called, the one that we use, or the one that we did use, although it's now built into things like Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. So, you're sort of that you need to use these external tools is sort of less now, I suppose. But like the data is fascinating, that you can tell what percentage of time in the meeting you spoke. Or
what your words per minute were.
And like, what are your actions? What actions you said? You said that you were going to follow up on this. Would you like me to just create a calendar and invite now? And you're like, that'd be great. Thanks.
Sure. Great.
I know.
It's amazing.
And you know what? It's been good. It's been good for, it's like, so obviously, Pam, you're working during the day on Digitize. I'm coming in kind of from the back end and checking out things at night. But it meant I could go into those meetings, those calls, and see kind of what was agreed, what was said. And then I can do my small little bit that I can, but I can use that data from that meeting and actually go in and dive into it, even if, Pam, you are working on something totally different.
And being able to get like a summary, for loads of learners, like how valuable could that be, that they don't have to read the whole thing if they can get a summary of something that actually tells them the bit they really need to know.
And see, like, your concerns for me are really interesting around your son at university and your daughter at school. And actually, I suppose we're in this kind of sort of unique period of time just now, aren't we? Where the technology is racing ahead, but the systems aren't quite up to speed yet. And that's where you get this disconnect between our exams and the idea of exams and what exams do, and the fact that everyone has like almost ubiquitous access to AI now. Like you were mentioning it being in Book Creator, it's appearing in every single app that we use, isn't it? In some way, shape or form. So I guess what we're looking at in terms of education and exams is a system change is coming, isn't it? What's your thoughts on all that?
I think it needs to come, One of my colleagues, Paul Nisbet, who's the current director at Call Scotland.
He
has
know him well.
He has spent a lot of time, and actually he said today, since 2005, and then he went, that's 20 years. And it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
He has been working with SQA on digital assessments. That's been his baby, and he's spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, and listened to educators and the barriers that have been there, and taken those back to SQA, and a lot of progress has been made, because we've been hearing over the years of, as authorities have maybe gone to one-to-one devices, Chromebooks and iPads have come into the equation, but then it comes to exam time, and the problem is you've got to be online. No, you can't have that. It's compromised.
Even the likes of keyboards, if you're coming from Chromebooks with the lowercase keyboard and you've spent your entire school career using this type of keyboard, goes to just exams, you then have to switch device, whether that's a desktop, whatever tool you're using, and suddenly you're having to use an uppercase keyboard. What you're typing on the keyboard is not what appears on the screen. It's a totally different scenario
Imagine that for any learner, regardless of whether additional needs or not. Exams are a really big stressful situation.
Like do we even need them? Do we even need them, Kirsteen? What's the, I mean,
continuous assessment, teacher judgment. I mean, I'm a primary teacher, so I have to say that. But like the more and more I hear, like I go out to secondaries now, and the more I hear from secondary teachers what is expected, and like the measure on teachers from
Sure.
data. It's
Yeah.
I'm seeing it as a parent now as well.
Yeah.
Like my son is, I said, he's about to
Sure.
start his Nat 5s, and there's some subjects he's doing, like I think he has a photographic memory, and so
Right.
memorizing things that works for him.
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
not going to work for my
everyone.
daughter. No. And I see that as a really big stress. So the progress with the digital exams, being able to now, Chromebooks and iPads being able to be used,
Yeah.
and assessments not being compromised, I just think how fabulous to be able to use familiar devices, not
Yes.
something that has just been wheeled in for the day. And
Yeah.
and also, like one of the companies, exam.net, have been working. So that's just one of them. There's Trelson, and I can't actually remember the other ones, but Paul's been working with them in pilot projects. He recently did a webinar with a couple of teachers from Larbert High School.
Okay.
And they, after being at something that Paul had presented with SQA, they went away themselves and did their own kind of mini pilot. And so they presented that on as part of a webinar recently. And it's secure. It was a secure system that their learners were able to use their iPads in exams.
Brilliant.
We talk about normalizing and, universal tools.
Yep.
If we're giving out devices to everybody, why can everybody not use them in an exam? If that's or in an assessment. I'm going to say assessment. I'm not going to say exam.
Yeah, assessment's fair. And you're right. It has to come, doesn't it? I mean, the numbers are quite high, actually. I noticed the numbers on your website of young people who do take digital exams. It's actually quite high. But in some ways it should be. Everyone shouldn't. Like,
and I've spoken to, I've got a friend who is now moved into support for learning in a secondary school, and I was flabbergasted at the number of assessment arrangements that she has at her high school. It's a high school in Edinburgh, and I said, how do you actually manage that? How is that manageable? And I think she loses a lot of hours sleep in the month of May.
Yeah, and organising.
I used to think as a primary school teacher that in secondaries in May they just all sat twiddling their thumbs and writing their coursework for next year, whereas we're trying to, work out how we're going to move classrooms and move stage and do all that while the kids are still there or have to go in the summer holidays to do it. But actually,
it was a wee bit of a break, May.
You can admit that, Pam, can you?
Yeah, it was a wee bit of a break, but
But what a stress having to do all these assessment arrangements.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry to all the secondary teachers out there that thought that.
Do you know what? It's there's benefits in both sectors, isn't there? Like there are times where, because I do remember in a secondary school you did always you geared up for May because obviously you had to prep the kids for their exams, but when you got to May, it's like 2 weeks or something where you don't have your 4th and 5th year. It's not like it's a wee bit of breathing space, but it's
what I would say as well is that over the Easter holidays my son had classes, so teachers were giving up their time. So
there's
where that 2 weeks is from. It gets shifted.
Take it all back.
It does. If you had a magic wand and you could make assistive technologies and accessible tools ubiquitous and freely available everywhere, what would be the one change you would make?
Oh, Pam,
it's a big question.
I'm thinking.
I mean, a handful.
Where I'm thinking you might be headed with this is one-to-one devices.
It's interesting, that one, because I feel like I've had a really big shift on my thinking on that.
Okay.
Sure.
My own experience was I'd worked in an authority where that probably will not happen unless something something major is gonna, maybe somebody waving a magic wand would make the
Yeah.
change there. But I advocated at the time for bring your own device, because we had anytime, anywhere learning, and that was, I suppose that was the closest alternative to one-to-one that I was going to get, and that was great. It worked well for us, and it continues. My children take their devices to school, and they hook onto the network, and it's pretty stable most of the time. But now that I see the landscape across the country, it's hard to say that that's not a great thing. It's unfair, I think, is how I see it now. And it's not, it's just so inequitable that if you live in one postcode, you get it. If you live in another, you don't get it. And I suppose around that, though, I talk about this when I am out and about, that just giving out the devices, that's not enough.
No.
And you guys know that as well. It's so training, I suppose, like that is my magic wand, is that I want people to know what tools are available, how to use them, and that the whole pedagogy of, well, why the tool, why the device, the task fitting the tool fitting the task, or just all of that. Just giving out the devices, that's just not enough.
That's not enough. Yeah.
No.
Where would you get started? What would be the 3 places for people to get started for that training? Would it be the Microsoft tools? Would it be things like Book Creator? Would it be just diving into the accessibility tools that are kind of built into the device? Where would you start educating our educators?
I would.
That's another big question.
I know it is. I know.
Yeah.
We have an infographic on our website that is a triangle, and it's got these universal, the foundation. I talk about the strong foundation of this triangle is these universal supports and these built-in tools. They are crucial, and every teacher has the responsibility. We've got GTCS guidelines. There's
the teacher digital skills as well. The digital skills toolkit that's out there. So you have to be able to, like, is built into the curriculum.
We as educators, we have that responsibility. So making sure that people know how to use them and have opportunities to find out. We've just had great news at Call Scotland that we have had extra funding granted to us for 2026. So I'm allowed to say it now because Paul blogged about it yesterday. So it's common knowledge.
It's out there.
So not only are we going to be soon expanding our team, we're going to be looking to recruit, but we are now able to offer some of our online learning modules for free.
Brilliant.
And that's something that, because, I mentioned it earlier that, money is a barrier. Yeah. It's a barrier for educators to get that high quality learning CLPL that they may be seeking or may need. It might be a need or it might be a want. And so we're able to offer these online modules now for free. So, and we're hoping that maybe some of our courses, we might have some funded places on those as well. So, and then it's about building that capacity. Like, I talk about that a lot. I think that for me, everybody's different. I get that. With a passion, and you guys will be the same, with a passion for technology, I can't understand why anyone wouldn't want to get the best out of a device.
I've really seen that with AI. The AI for me is the thing that is hooking people in a way that previous tools we've been doing this same thing. We've gone out and done training on all the digital tools, but AI is the one that I think people that might have been reluctant to embrace technology are embracing AI because the learning curve isn't a learning curve so much, is there? It's, you chat to it, and as long as you're prepared to chat to it and not accept the first answer and keep asking for more, then Yeah, it's making a big difference.
There's a lot of learning there, and like I remember teaching years ago, even like what a good Google search,
Yes.
Yes.
So it's along the same lines, I think.
Absolutely.
And I was saying that to somebody the other day. I used to say, right, if you want to find out about this, what would be your Google search? Well, would you get what you're looking for? And it's the same thing. I really think it's about refining that now. And so you what you get out, you have to put in as well. So
I was going to say, have you found yourself turning to AI instead of like search?
Yeah.
Google
sometimes.
Or otherwise. I have.
Yeah, I have. And I then go, oh yeah, that was the wrong thing to, that's not what I wanted. That's not, so and then I think, well, that's me. That's my fault because I know how it works. So I've got to feed in what I'm looking for. And, and there's lots of fun things as well, like the image generation,
the new image
stuff.
Everywhere.
It's so cool, the new image stuff though, isn't it? It's like, do you know what I've been doing with it? Taking photographs of rooms and saying, I'm needing this redecorated. And it just said, it gives you.
That's a brilliant idea.
Kirsteen, it's amazing. It's going to change your life. You literally take a photo of the room, upload it into your AI of choice, and ask for a new design in whatever style you fancy. It's unbelievable.
I was going to get my friend round to give me some interior design. I'm going to tell her she's sacked now.
Honestly.
I don't need her.
Co-pilot can do it.
Idea. Craig, one of my other colleagues, he ages ago, I don't know, he was reading an article and he said that we have to be really polite to
it's more effective.
We need so I'm very conscious, and I'm like, there's loads of lessons in there about manners.
Although apparently it uses so much more server power as well if you're polite. Because of the language. Apparently it uses up more water and whatever other commodities are involved in AI. So it's okay. It's good. You tend to get a better result, but also costs more money.
Those pictures have been such a great way for people to get into AI. Like people that would never have even tried it or searched for an AI tool are a way of creating pictures and creating images. It's such a great way to do it. And something that's been nice is that people that haven't had an interest in digital technologies before have been coming to me and saying, have you seen this? Have you seen that you can do that? And I think that's just such a brilliant conversation starter that you can start with something that's fun and you can go off and kind of branch out from there. It's such a great way.
I think that's the empowering thing about any of these, teaching or sharing with colleagues. It's like you kind of need to just sometimes plant that seed, let them go away and explore and be comfortable with something.
Yes.
And then build on that.
And I guess that's been part of the challenge for folks like us, hasn't it? That, for the last sort of, say, 10, 15 years, we've probably done a lot of training on digital technology, but maybe the technology was just too hard. And it was fine for folk like us who were determined and excited and whatever else. But, if you're trying to learn that in amongst everything else, it's maybe just not as accessible as it should have been. And
I know. That's so true, actually, because like when I think back to my probation year, I was in a school with there was two of us, two probationers at the time, and there was not a single interactive panel in the school when we started. Now but to educators now that'd be quite alien. Like it was whiteboards. In that school, it was a new build school, so it was all whiteboards. One of the schools I went to my teaching practice, in the Highlands, it was a blackboard.
Wow,
and I found it really difficult writing with chalk, personally. That was a real struggle for me.
And it gets covered in, you get covered in it.
It's everywhere.
Handprints all over the place. So the question came of, we've got some money, is there anything you think we should buy? And I said, is there any chance we could get an interactive panel? And the head said, oh, what's that? And so I kind of had to go and do a bit of a pitch. And we got one that wheeled in, and it took me back to like a learner myself in the 80s of the BBC computer that was rolled in on the trolley with Granny's Garden on it. The people listening going, what? But I was like, get it. yeah, I'll have it. Does anyone want it?
Yeah.
Yes, me, I'll have it.
Yep.
And we were having a council inspection at the time, and they were like, oh, do you want us to take that out for the, and I was like, no, I want you to leave it in my classroom. I'm a probationer who needs a job at the end of the year. So, you know, I want to do everything. And other people were like, could you show us what you're doing with it? And I was like, yeah. And it was about building small. And then I said, well, what about in my time out of class? Let's wheel it to your room and I'll come and help you with your class. But just not being afraid of it, you know, and the kids were like right in there and not afraid of it. Of course.
No. Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
and then it was like, oh, now everybody's getting a panel in their room and they all hated me for that. Initially, it didn't last long though.
Good. Well, that's something to be proud of. You influenced change there in a big way.
No, and you just forget about these things, you know, because you forget that they weren't always there.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I experienced, I mean, poor Charlie Love, he did such a great job getting everything back in order this past couple of days, but the Wi-Fi went down, and I was planning a lesson where everybody had their own presentations and they were all going to edit it online, research, pull it all in together and share and collaborate together, and the Wi-Fi went down. Oops. And I was like, what do you do? Everything that I'd planned for this session was online, and so
did you phone up Charlie Love and say, I mean, technology's great when it works, Charlie?
Yeah. I need a direct line to him now. So he's done a great job getting it back online for me. But
oh dear. That's it though. That's it. There's nothing much you can say when you're like doing a demo and the tech doesn't work. You're like, well,
doesn't work.
Resilience.
And do you know what though? That used to really panic me, and you know, like a heart racing moment, sweat buckets.
Yes.
But now, like that is the reality, and the reality is that actually sometimes things don't work.
Yeah.
No.
So that's okay.
Yeah. And you know what? It showed me that. So I'd printed off the stuff for a previous class the day before, and it showed me that in the printer I can go into the history and find what I printed the day before, and I can reprint that. And I was like, oh, I would never have known that setting was there unless I needed it in that moment. So
there you go.
It was for a reason.
Oh, so where do you think we're headed? I mean, this seems like a point where we're like, what's coming next for education? Like, there's a lot of. It feels to me that we're in a period of real change beginning to ripple through. You know, you've got Education Scotland looking at the curriculum, and it feels like there's a global tidal wave of change beginning to stir. Do you get that feeling as well?
I think there's still, you know, there's a lot of people who've been in education a long time and have seen lots of changes. And I think a change is always needed. And like around the exams or assessments, for me, is a real biggie where we need that change. I think, will we see one-to-one devices everywhere? I'm not sure. John Swinney told us we were all going to have them, like we were handing out jotters, but
still waiting.
Where are they?
We're still waiting.
Yes.
So,
and the authorities that did go one-to-one, some of them did that, 10 years ago.
Yeah, and now, they're at the point devices are being replaced.
Yeah,
it's time for refresh. Yeah,
from maybe not the first time either.
I think the hope for me is that somehow technology actually enables teacher workload to be reduced, because it's just not sustainable, is it? Like,
no.
It must do that, if nothing else.
And I think like AI is getting there with a lot of that.
Yeah.
There is lots of change needed. Teachers absolutely, workload is massive and unsustainable, and still an expectation that new things come along and you need to embrace them. But what gives?
I know. Exactly.
I would like to see these universal tools being available to everybody, regardless of need, because time and time again we hear, I don't want to be different, particularly in secondary school. Primary school, it's not, it's children are much more accepting, I think, in primaries, but in secondary, when you have an identified need, you still feel different a lot of the time. And that's not for the want of people like me going in and trying to say, but it's okay, it's all right, you need it, and this is the tool that's going to help you. Yeah, they still don't want to be different though.
Yeah.
I get that.
You know, you want to fit in.
Of course.
So why should they fit in? Like, let's have that universal design. Let's be inclusive from the bottom up. Absolutely.
I love that.
Here's my magic wand. That's what I want.
That's a nice takeaway. That's a good takeaway for everyone from this podcast, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you so much, Kirsteen. Really, really appreciate your time tonight. I'm glad we got to talk at last.
Time has flown.
It really has, hasn't it? Thank you so much.
I love that. Thank you so
Did
much
you enjoy it?
Yeah, I really did. And do you know what? It's made me think about lots of things over that I hadn't, when I filled in the answers, like I just hadn't thought about. But yeah, you guys made it very easy. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have you
got so much
any other guests for us? Who would you like us to have on the podcast next?
Yeah, who would you like to hear or see?
Sarah Clark, maybe.
Yes. We need to get Sarah on. You're the third person that said.
Yeah, I know. Well, I did. I know. Someone else did say her as
drop her a message, Kirsteen.
Yes, Amanda Pickard.
Yes, she would be great.
Another good one.
Yeah,
Uncle Mike would be amazing. But get him on about the Scottish voices. Scottish voice. I want to question him about the Scottish voices.
We could have a guest question from you as well. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Digitize Fully Charged podcast. My name is Niall. I've been joined by Pam Curry, and today we were interviewing the amazing Kirsteen Steven. She gave us some fantastic insights into the work that she's doing around Call Scotland and supporting all of our learners to have this equitable and accessible education that we know that our learners are crying out for. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can find all of our other podcasts if you search for Digitize Crew, or if you search for on social media, or if you search for the Digitize Fully Charged podcast, you'll find other interviews, and you will also find all of our future season 2 interviews on there. We've got some incredible guests coming up. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but there's some fantastic guests coming up that we know you are going to love. So please keep an eye out every Tuesday for our latest chat and latest interview on the Digitize Fully Charged podcast. Thank you again, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye.